Thank you all. Thank you for inviting me today. I had already introduction, and now I will tell you something. Today I will present you our huge project, Metmonic, and make an introduction of our new radars and new radar sites on the Adriatic coast. And in the end, I will show you a few examples about bird detection and weather radars. First, Metmonic. Metmonic is modernization of our natural weather observation network, and it's modernization and improvement of most or basically all of our segments of network, starting with the surface meteorological measurements, where we are planning to install more than 400 automatic stations. Then upper air meteorological measurements. With this summer we install LiDAR, wind profiler and microwave radiometer. These days, for me and most of my colleagues, attention is on improvement of meteorological radar network. Also, it will be established a measurement system of meteorological and oceanographic buoys. Then modernization of system receiving, processing and controlling, storing data and assuring data availability. Then improvement of meteorological calibration laboratory and monitoring of trace elements in the ecosystem. Our remote system department is very proud that after 20 years our dreams are coming true. Tomorrow first radar will be shipped to Croatia, and we bought 6 Vaisala C-band dual-pole Doppler radars, and here I listed some of their specification. Frequency band between 5.5 to 5.7 gigahertz, range, Doppler range of 250 kilometers and reflectivity range of 450 kilometers. Transmitter is magnetron. Antenna is parabolic antenna with 4.5 meters in diameter, gain of more than 45.6 decibel, and beam width less than 1 degree. These kind of radars are a huge improvement of our radar network. Here is a map of our new radar network. It's shown a radar range of 120 kilometers. First, we will install radar on Gradište, on the east part of Croatia, then Bilogora, Puntijarka near Zagreb, Goli in Istria here, Debeljak near Zadar, and Uljenje on the peninsula Pelješac. Here are some pictures. I'm sorry, here are some mistakes, but never mind. First installation starts on November 8th. On Gradište there were a small radar, a very old one, and we remove it, and the new one is coming in a few weeks. Then on Bilogora, I hope the installation will be week after Gradište. Then the first radar on Adriatic coast, which is a very huge, big thing for us, will be installed on the Beljak near Zadar in December. And in end of December, beginning of January, new radar will be installed on Goli. Here you can see on these pictures construction. There's a lot of construction, and a lot of things are already done. And these all dates are not definite, but the most likely. And in the end, the reconstruction of tower on Puntijarka will start this winter. It depends on the weather, of course, and also this winter we start construction on Uljenje, and we will install new radars in spring next year. With that, we'll have the whole country covered with radars, and the importance of that, it's unmeasurable. For a lot of segments in our daily life, for weather forecasts, for weather forecasters, weather alerts for dangerous conditions, and also for the science research. Speaking of science, I will begin with a small history lesson. In the World War II, when the first radars were used by military, it was time that the weather was discovered on the radar, but it wasn't the rain the only one which was discovered at that time. There were also birds. And the first article about it was published in Nature in October 1945, where authors Lack and Wiley wrote about bird detections and birds who given arrays of fuel of several E-boat scares and at least one invasion alarm. At that time, they could actually calculate the direction and speed of birds. And after the war, finally, the first weather radar was installed in 1947 in Washington, D.C. Well, after that, also a huge amount of research of birds detection started. Well, what can radar tell us about birds? It can show us their direction and speed, migration intensity, flight altitude, and wing beat patterns. Now, our meteorological service had until now S-band radars, and we didn't do any research actually about birds. And then I took a quick crash course about birds and weather radars. And for all, I read a lot of articles, and I took just a few examples of research. Here's the first one. It's on this figure you can see in the first column reflectivity factor, then radial velocity, and in the end the last column is radial velocity standard deviation on PPI product. Its full name is planned position indicators. In a few cases, first row means precipitation. Here you can see values from dBz from 0 to I think 40. On the radars is their values more than 20 dBz, which means heavier rain, with wind speed, a wind velocity of 25 kilometers per hour. And the standard deviation is mostly clean with no data. The second row, on the second row, you can see a clear air. Well, it is a clear air, but there is something. What is it? It was probably insects. And the range of values in dBz is different. It's from minus 30 dBz to 0. For us, radar meteorologists, that means clutter, like trash data, and we don't use it. And in the end, there are birds, and you can distinguish them by looking standard deviation of velocity, radial velocity. And you can see a lot of birds are coming from southeast toward radars. This research from just one radar. Here you can see a vertical profile of bird density and its comparison to weather radar. It was used, bird radar was Superflederamus, if I told it right. And you can see the data is very good. Some of, in a lower altitude, values from weather radar are a bit higher, but if you look at the whole picture, it's very good. And this is a case of nocturnal migration. And in the last figure, there is also a bird density compared with wind profile during this 6 days. Well, these two figures are just small examples of a lot of studies, and during this period, we can say of 70 years, a lot of studies were made, a lot of bird detection algorithms, detection systems like Rowan, and I didn't saw really any point to go to all the studies, all the formulas. In the end, I wanted to show you one of the final results, and this is one of them. In this research, authors took data from 70 C-band radars in range of 25 to 40 kilometers, and data was provided by the Humanet Project Opera, which Croatia is also a member. The study period was in September and in October. In October, they took this 6 days, and you can see on the map bird flight detection and the wind and bird density. And they found a bias between them. So you can see at the first day there were really low winds and there was no bird migration. After the next day, the winds were much stronger and they probably took opportunity to fly, and then their density was more than 150 birds per kilometer per hour, and wind speeds somewhere more than 15 meters per second. So with all the advance of science, data processing, higher density of radar in Europe and now in Croatia, it's a great opportunity to have a complete spatial and temporal picture of bird migrations. External factors like weather can have very good forecast. And then you can forecast bird migration also in few days. With all that combined, and stopover areas can be also detected, meteorological services can provide early warnings for flight safety, for example. And knowing the bird migration route, wind farms, for example, can be placed in positions where they can make less damage to them. And in the end, if you look at the whole picture, the whole biosphere. Because we must think in future, and our goal as scientists should be to find a perfect harmony between life and nature around us like human beings, and the future growth of our humankind. So, thank you.